Hey, good morning. Welcome to Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, it's unusual for me to be doing a video. I usually do them late at night, but this is early morning. And I got a letter this morning, and it was from a subscriber who wanted to know about the cost of the traditional look houses that we build. So this is a general question of people asking what the prices are. So assuming that and I think I'm correct, assuming that the people who ask this question are usually foreigners who are coming over here and have yet to have the experience of building in the Philippines. Now, the houses that we build have to stress straight away. First of all, have to stress that we don't work for profit, okay? We're not working for profit. Profit doesn't come into it. We do the very best that we can so that we have money to go on to the next project. So from that viewpoint, we're trying to do the very best deal. The other thing is that we don't work for other people. We're not working for profit. When I say we're not working for profit, if you call us and say, love that house that you did, can you do exactly the same house for me? The answer is no, because we're not contractors. We're not trying to make a living by, say, producing a house for X amount of money and selling it for X extra amount of money. It doesn't come into it. We're only here to build houses for people who are in usually pretty desperate situations, which you'll be able to see by the houses that we're replacing. Now, the 3 houses that we've done, that's the best deal that we've been able to do so far on our houses for having done 3 houses, and that's because each one was within a stone's throw of each other. 2 of the houses were just a few feet apart almost, and the 3rd one was immediately across the road. So we were able to build all 3 at once, and that was the best deal that we were able to do. But if you come to us tomorrow and say, I want exactly those 3 houses done on this piece of land, no differences, the answer is no. So because of that, I would venture to say that the prices that we are telling you right now are the prices that we have found to be true. And when we first started building houses, what used to happen, and if you're a foreigner and you haven't been over to the Philippines yet, but you are married to a Filipina, then you will have some idea of what the culture is, because even if you haven't visited, you'll know through your wife, and possibly through photographs, and possibly through the videos that we and other vloggers have made of trying to show what life in the Philippines really is about. So you won't understand the way that it's done in the province. Now, we live in what's called a province, okay, and that is that we're not in the big city. We live near 2 ports. That's Talabon. We live between 2 ports, Talabon, which is a small town, 1 set of traffic lights, okay, and 1 big store, and the next town is Itafi, which is also a port town, but a tiny little place. The biggest building in that particular town is the church. So what are we looking at? We're looking at, you can't get everything that you want, and if you do, it might be very expensive. Now, there are for instance, there are timber yards where you can go, or you can go to hardware stores and you can buy nicely milled door frame kits, for instance, or window frame kits, and you can buy those, and everything is just absolutely right. But for us, we have a chainsaw crew, not our crew. We are connected to friends who have a chainsaw crew. Now these guys will go to a designated tree. Believe me, this is how it works. You find a tree and you tell them where that tree is, and you tell them what the house is going to be. Just a moment. You tell them where the tree is, and you tell them this is what we do. We tell them we're going to build a house that has a footprint of this is a traditional house, has a footprint of say 17 by 12. Okay, so that will be the footprint. Now these guys know their job very, very well within the parameters that they work. They're chainsaw. They have chainsaws, right? They don't carry sets of carving drills, and they don't. What they use is a 3 or 4 foot chainsaw, and they're very, very skillful at this. They cut the tree down, and wherever the tree lands, they have their cut list for a house that is built traditionally half and half, 5 courses of hollow block, as you've seen on the videos, 4 to 5 courses of hollow block, or maybe a little more, and then on top of that they put a frame. So everything on top of that is framed in wood. They know exactly what they need. Depending on the dimensions, they'll give you 4 by 4, this kind of thing, 4 inches by 4 inches, or maybe a little more, on each of the corner support posts. Now, they do that. They know that there's going to be 2 doorways. They know that there's going to be, they know exactly what goes into a house. And that's what they provide you with. And anything that's left over, they'll cut up into 2 by 2s, because they know that there's a never-ending supply for those. So that's how it goes. Now, is every 2 by 2 really 2 by 2? How good are you with a chainsaw? Is every 2 by 6 really 2 by 6? Again, how good are you with a chainsaw? They work with a string line, a tape measure, a string line. They ping that string line out, and then they cut down that tree and they put it up into your cut list. Well, they have their own cut list because they know, as I said from experience, what goes into it. Right, now we are rehousing people who are coming from the poorest kind of house imaginable. Some is cobbled together frames, which are then, the wall consists of tarpaulin. So we're providing them with a very modest house. There's a kitchen which is set up for open fire cooking, and open fire cooking means that they go onto a bed of earth compacted down, sometimes some cement sprinkled into that, and above that is open. So where the apex of the roof is like this for the little kitchen extension, it's open. It's not ideal. It's not a stainless steel kitchen, right? Unless there is water running already, then we don't give that. We don't put a bathroom in. right, there's no swimming pool, and we're still working on doing a bowling alley. Now, not being facetious to be funny, trying to impress on you that these are very basic houses. There's no windows. There are windows with panels which are cut, and which the panel literally opens like this. The door the same. There's no deadlocks. There's no locks. And if the house has to be raised, as you will have seen in the 3-house project, one of them had a solid floor with a cement, nicely smooth cement, and the other 2, because of the location and the kind of ground that they're on, and the proximity to seawater and the tides, they had to be on stilts. So the floors there are in strip bamboo. Now this has worked for ages. It's worked very well for people here in the Philippines, and it still works, and it's still used, and it's still a viable proposition. But if you're a foreigner coming over here, it's unlikely that you will be satisfied with that. So when foreigners write to me and ask, as did this recent gentleman, and he will probably be more used to it than others, because he's not coming from the States, he's coming from, I think it was Taipei, somewhere like that. So he will have been used to the simpler way of building, and may be able to get along with the traditional houses, which he said he loved. Now, for others, you'll want a kitchen, and if you want a kitchen, you'll want lights in it, you'll want more than one plug, more than one outlet. You'll want as close as an ordinary kitchen, what you would regard as an ordinary kitchen, as is possible. You'll need a bathroom. You need a bathroom, and then you'll need fittings in the bathroom. Will you need a flushing toilet, or will you, as my mother-in-law, when we built a house for my mother-in-law, she could have had a flushing toilet, of course, you know, but she didn't. She went for the low, it's a toilet basin, which Filipinos will squat on that, and that's what they do, and then they flush it from a bucket and a supply of water right next to it, and that's the way that it works. All of that works perfectly here, and the people that we build for and the situation that we're taking them out of, it means that this is wonderful for them. No great credit to us. We're building what we can with the resources that we have. So when people ask what these houses cost, just to give you an idea, when we first started, we would get the chainsaw crew, and our first house that we built, I think the bill for the chainsaw crew, right, bearing in mind they cut the tree, do the cut list for the house, and then we would have Manorado go there and pick up the wood, put it onto a bamboo sled, and we would get it to where we had to build the house. That was how we did it. A carabao and a bamboo sled. When we built our own house, all of the materials for our own house were dropped off at the end of the road, and then the 2 miles up to our house site came on the bamboo sled, courtesy of my brother-in-law Rado. So things have changed a great deal, but as I was about to say, the cost of the first house on the timber was something like 8,000 pesos, right? That's find the tree, buy the tree, cut the thing down, put it into a cut list, and leave it for Rado to pick up. it was about 8,000 pesos. Our last bill for wood, Beth, our last bill for wood
60 for the 3 house.
for 3 houses was,
60,000.
I don't know whether you can hear that, but our last bill for the 3 houses, admittedly 3, so divide by 3, our last bill was 60,000. That's for the wood, okay? Now the wood will take, maybe you might say it was a little bit more because we were doing 2 of the houses on stilts, so maybe marginally a little more, but one of them was smaller, so swings and roundabouts. So difficult to say exactly how much something is going to cost. The other thing is we built one small house up in the mountains, and you can actually, if you have the time, you can find that video of when we did that house way up in the houses in the mountains, and a small house as well, but on a steep incline like this, so something of a challenge. Our little girl that stays with us most of the time, lovely, her family, we built a house for her family. The landlord would not have any cement or concrete in the base, and it's up in the mountains in what we call the secret village mountains, because it's just hard to find. And we had to build the house, as I say, on a slope like this. So you got the platform of the house coming out like this, and then this has got to be propped up. So it's a different set of logistics, different design challenge and build and all of that. And then others, it's right next to the road. Well, if it's right next to the road, it's easy for delivery of materials, and we can get people to deliver the materials. Now, in this particular case, on the 3 houses, our big blue truck is out of action. It's actually in the shop being repaired, so we didn't have access to being able to pick anything up, so we had to pay for delivery as well. So these are all things which happen, which are everyday problems for running the kind of operation that we do. So it's very, very difficult to give any prices, but as we're not in it for profit, you can rely on the fact that we're not telling you that something costs more than it did, because as you will have seen on many of the videos that we've done, we've actually gone to the trouble of videoing, putting the camera on the receipt as it's made out and the bill as it's paid, because we've always believed in total transparency. That's what we do, and we do that because at some point we are required to know exactly what we did. Now, if you're anything like me, sometimes I can't easily remember what I did last Tuesday, so how on earth would I be able to remember what we did 6 months ago? So we keep records, and those records are accurate. Those records are submitted, as inevitably they will be, to a CPA who will have to make sense of them on a, not on a profit and loss, but on an income and an outgoing. So the whole question of how much a house costs is really, really difficult. Where is it? Location, 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 as far as buying a piece of property and deciding whether you'd like to live there. We've seen property which has been very cheap, and I wouldn't want to live there. Now, we live on top of the hill, and almost in any direction, we can look out over really what amounts to hundreds of square miles of rolling hills. even though they're designated because of the altitude as mountains. They call them mountains here. Well, yeah, we're in the mountains. So, very difficult, and I hope that this will answer your questions on that. Now, for our friend, and this is really only for today, and it's only a guesstimate, I told him that possibly for a simple house in a traditional way, he might be looking at 250,000 pesos, which is still not a great deal of money. But if he wants to go for a cement block house, which I suspect he probably will, I'll give you a good reason for why. Because we're actually going to do a test run of the next house that we rehouse a family in. We're going to try to do that in hollow block. No half and half framework, because the wood is getting very expensive to buy now, so I think we're past the point of where we've tried to view which would be better, which would be easier, which would be longer lasting, which can we afford to build between the hollow block and the half and half, half block, half timber. Well, at the rate that the half timber is going, it doesn't seem like there's a whole lot to choose between the hollow block and the half and half. So we're going to try for a hollow block and see if we can do it on the money that we have. The people that we rehouse are more than happy with what we do, because the difference between what they were living in and what we were able to build for them is enormous. It's enormous, believe me. So they accept all of the things which you maybe as a foreigner would not be able to accept. We originally did our extension in half and half, traditional. What we found was that because of the way that traditionally houses are built, with the timber frame and the roof, and where the two join, so looking like this, there's a gap. There's always a gap left around the thing. Well, the birds, we've got legions of squadrons of little sparrows here, and they just love the open air on the house. So that's not working, because we end up having dust and everything come in, and so now we're cladding it very simply in 1/4 inch ply, and we're just cladding it, and we'll lower the ceiling so that the whole thing is sealed, and we can have a small air conditioning unit in there too. So you would have to consider that too. It would start, and we loved the look of it because we had it double skinned in the Amacon bamboo, but practical wise, not so good. Constant cleaning. You know, we had a little dining room table in there and 4 chairs a day, and it would be covered in dust, which the bamboo tends to kind of weep, if that's the right word. So, hope it explains some of the problems that you will be faced with if you come over here, buy a piece of land, as you probably will, and build on it, right? So as far as choosing a piece of land, assuming that you are married to a Filipina, assuming that you're married to a Filipina, you're going to buy land and you're going to put that in your wife's name, and then you're going to build your house, and then all of the problems I've been discussing with you will apply. But as far as the validity of what I've been saying here, this has been our experience. We're in Bohol, we're in between Itafi and Taliban. That's where we are. This is how it is for us. Who knows that if you go to, say, within 1 hour of Tagbilaran, which is the big city, instead of 3 hours as we are, what will the prices be? I'm sure that there'll be more than we pay. So even what I'm telling you is very much dependent on where we are. Okay, and now the dogs are planning a takeover, so I'm going to finish off. Hope this has helped. You can always write to me. Our address is not a secret. The email is at the end of this video, I believe. Thanks for looking in. Bye for now.